Ladies and gentlemen, Rabbi Friedman.
Can we talk? So I don't understand why you're here. You've already heard everything I have to say on YouTube. And there is nothing new under the sun, especially God. He's been around for a long time. There has been much talk about him. In fact, one time I encountered a student, and he says, "What gives God the right to tell me what to do?" How's that for a good self-image? And I said, "Hey, watch. God got his name on the cover of Time magazine. You never got your name on Time magazine. So a little respect. God's been around, and he has been spoken about, and he has been worshipped, debated, hated, blamed, but he's always been there. It's an old topic. But let's see if we can get it right, because there is so much we can benefit. There is so much to be gained by getting to know him, that we cheat ourselves by simply saying, yes, I believe, and let it go at that. We're also going to find out something about ourselves that is kind of futuristic, cutting edge. Who are we really? What are we really? Where do we fit into the picture, into the plan? So getting to know ourselves and getting to know God, they're pretty closely related. As we get to know ourselves better, we understand God better. And as we get to know God better, we'll understand ourselves better. In other words, God is relevant. But not if you dismiss him as some guy in heaven. So let's begin with something from the Torah. We're told in next week's Torah portion about Avram. This week we're reading about Noach. Next week it's about Avram. Avram's child, Yitzchak, was born to him miraculously, to Sarah. She could not by nature have children. The birth was miraculous. Avram had another son called Yishmael, by another mother. He was born naturally. The other difference between these two sons is that Ishmael was circumcised at the age of 13. Yitzchak was circumcised 8 days old. The difference being, at 13, today you are a man, at least theoretically, so you can decide what you want to do. You can either agree or not agree to the circumcision. It's an intelligent decision. At 8 days old, you're not really asked. So it is not an intelligent decision on the part of the child. In other words, Yitzchak's birth was miraculous, and his circumcision was super rational. Yishmael's birth was natural, his circumcision was reasonable. God says to Avram, after Yishmael was born, I have good news for you, you're going to have a son. Avram says, I have a son, Yishmael. And God says, no, you're going to have another son. And Avram said, well, what's wrong with Yishmael? He can be a good boy. And God says, yes, he will be, but not like Yitzchak. So let's try to understand here, what exactly is the difference? You can serve God, you can be loyal to God, you can believe in God for rational reasons. Makes sense. It's reasonable. Or you can go beyond reason, beyond any logical, rational purpose, and just be completely devoted to him. God was telling Abraham, Yishmael will be a good guy, rationally, reasonably, intelligently, naturally. But Yitzchak is going to be something beyond. What is the virtue of going beyond reason? Why isn't reason good enough? I'm an intelligent person. I think things through. I make decisions. I make my choices. Why do I need to go beyond that? And what is there beyond that? So first, a simple definition. What does reasonable mean? What is rational? A rational thinking comes down to simply, what is best for me? That's rational. If you do what is best for yourself, that is very rational. In fact, that is the definition of rational. So you have a simple argument. I can either believe that the world came into existence by accident, for no reason, or I can believe that there's a God in heaven who created us, created the world for a reason with a purpose. Okay, what's better for me? Why would I choose to believe that I'm an accident when I can choose to believe that I'm here for a reason, that I am necessary? That's rational. So you say, but believing in God is irrational. No, it's not. It's mysterious. It's not irrational. Irrational would mean I keep taking a drug that is killing me, and I don't enjoy it, but I don't stop. That's irrational. But if I'm doing something that helps me live my life, I am being rational. And if it helps me live my life to believe that there is some invisible force that makes my life better, that's rational. In other words, there's nothing more rational than doing what is good for me. It's perfectly rational to make an argument that giving charity, giving away my money, is good for me. Makes me feel noble. It gives me an idealistic way of expressing my belonging and my concern and my responsibility. It's all very rational. So the question is, why do we need anything more than that? What's wrong with just following your rational, logical mind and doing what is best for yourself, which is also best for others? Now, how did they put an end to the Wild West, where everybody was shooting everybody? They said, we ain't going to last like this. If everybody's shooting everybody, there'll be nobody left. It's not rational. It makes perfect sense that people should turn in their guns and stop shooting each other. In fact, many people have argued that they believe in the Ten Commandments, but not because God said so, because it makes sense. What does it mean it makes sense? It serves us best. So if you don't murder, don't kill, don't commit adultery, and don't covet your neighbor's donkey, your life is going to be a lot better, and so will this neighbor and his donkey. Everyone will do better if we follow the Ten Commandments. It was a bit of a mystery for a long time. Why do we need to go beyond rational? Why do we need to have faith and belief and religion? Why? And usually the answer you got from your teachers, from the rabbis, from the clergy, we don't know, don't ask questions, that's the way it is. You ask too many questions, you get yourself into trouble. You know, you're going to end up burning in hell for your skepticism. Not exactly a good answer. But here's something that happened, developed in very recent times. Really recent times. For about 5,000 years, everything human beings did, everything, was motivated by rational reason. Nobody did things for no reason. What was the rational reason? To live. People plowed their fields and planted their seeds and harvested the crop. Why? Why? We don't want to starve. So what drove all of human activity, all of human creativity? The need to live. Even silly things like entertainment. Why does it exist? Why is it popular? It makes your life a little easier to get your mind off your problems and off your concerns and worries and escape for a while into some fantasy, into some pleasant, enjoyable. It is all good for life. If it wasn't good for life, people wouldn't be doing it. So for 5,000 years, if you want to simplify it, for 5,000 years, all human activity was motivated by the fear of dying. We don't want to die, then we're going to do what we need to do. So the farmer would wake his kid up, his 10-year-old, say, wake up, early in the morning, we got to go milk the cow. We got to go work the fields. And the kid says, why? Why do I have to? And the father says, because if we don't, the season is going to come and go, and then the winter is going to come, and we're going to all starve, and we're going to be dead. So the kid jumps out of bed. I mean, what more rational reason is there? But something changed. Imagine saying to a child today, wake up, it's late. Late for what? The school bus. Why do I have to get on a school bus? Well, because you got to get an education. Why do I have to get an education? So that you can get into a good college. Why do I need to go to college? Well, to get a good profession, a job. Why do I need a job? To make money. Why do I need money? To pay a mortgage. Why do I need to pay a mortgage? Well, you're going to live on the streets. You could get sick and die. The kid says, that's why I have to get up in the morning today? Because somewhere down the line, years from now, there's a possibility that I might die. I'm going back to sleep. It has become a stretch. Besides which, I'm not going to die, nobody dies, you go on welfare, and they give you everything you need. So, tell me again, why do I have to get up? Try again. So, all of a sudden, the ultimate rational reason for doing everything we do has disappeared. The rational reason is because you don't want to die, you got to live. Maybe not. Maybe it's not worth it. So all of a sudden, the ultimate reasonable thinking doesn't work at all. Like when Mrs. Reagan told teenagers to avoid drugs. And the teenager said, why? And she says, because it can kill you. And they're still waiting for the punchline. And so what? So all of a sudden the threat of death is not working. It's not working. People have suddenly realized that to live your life so that you don't die doesn't make any sense whatsoever. You got to live. Why? Because if you don't, you won't. You get that? You have to live. Why? Because if you don't live, then you won't be alive. Does this make any sense? Live life so that you live and not die. And people are saying, wait a minute, this is not, it's not even rational anymore. It has become irrational. So what has developed is actually a positive thing. People all over the world are saying, I didn't ask to be born. Growing up, not so many years ago, never heard anyone ever say that. You remember hearing that when you were growing up? I didn't ask to be born. Nobody ever said that. Is it because we were smarter back then? I don't think so. We were just running on automatic pilot. Even in Yiddish, what was the greatest piece of wisdom that parents imparted to their children? Be gesund. You just have to have your health, and then you're fine. And we bought it. Said, right. Got to be healthy. You got to live. Why? Nobody asked. It never occurred to anyone to ask. Of course you have to live. Why? Because if you don't live, then you're not alive. And all of a sudden, it's not making sense. It gets worse. In order to live today, we have so many more needs than ever before. Back in the olden days, the farmer wakes his kid up and says, come, we have to plow the fields. You finish plowing the fields, you can go back to sleep. Because what else do you need? Life was simple. You need the basic survival necessities, and then you can go play. Not today. Today, there's almost no time for play. Because we have need upon need upon need. There's that joke about the woman who says, between attending Pilates and the gym and the whatever, I have no time for myself. And you have to have those things. You've got to do those things. So your schedule is full. Everything is a need. And it's becoming seriously depressing. It's a burden. It's too much. So we try to lighten our burden in so many different ways, and all we do is run into different needs. You see, you need to take a vacation from your needs. But in order to take a vacation, you have so many needs. Like the comedian who says, you know why we have houses? Because we need a place to keep our stuff. And then you put a lock on the house to protect your stuff when you go out of the house to get more stuff. Now you need a bigger house for all your stuff, and you put 2 locks on the door to protect all that stuff when you go out to get more stuff. And now you can't stand it anymore because there's too much stuff. You need to get away. So what do? You take the smallest suitcase, the fewest things, just part of your stuff, and you get away from it all. And you go off to Hawaii. And somebody says, this weekend, why don't you come to our island? And now you have to decide how to divide your stuff from what you need here to what you're going to need there. So now you have to take even fewer stuff. And then you got to go back to your stuff. So this has become depressing. When people come to a psychiatrist and say, I'm depressed, the psychiatrist says, well, let's see. Do you have sibling rivalries? Are you jealous of your brother? No. Did your mother really want you when you were born? Yeah. Well, then I don't know what your problem is. I'll tell you what my problem is. I got too many needs. The weight of the needs is depressing. So psychiatrists should start asking different questions. You're depressed? What do you need? Too many things. No wonder you're depressed. But what does psychology do for you these days? Until recently? You come and you say, I have so many needs, they're depressing me, I can't handle it. Basically what the psychiatrist says is, you have no idea how many needs you have. We'll go in a little deeper and uncover your subconscious needs. And they are the real needs. Thank you very much. So you say, well, if I can't find any relief from therapy, maybe I'll go into religion. What happens when you go into religion? You find out your needs are not going to end when you die. In fact, when you die and get to heaven, your real needs just begin. So, okay, there's no escape from this. Why are needs depressing? So we've always assumed needs are depressing if you can't fulfill them. Right? I need money and I can't get any. So it's not the need that is depressing, it's the lack. But if I had all the money I need, then it wouldn't be depressing. Well, we've discovered that that's not true. Having or not having what you need is equally depressing. In fact, affluence has made us more needy, less content. So, what really is wrong? Being needy is wrong. That's why it's depressing. It is not natural or true that human beings are needy. Does it make any sense at all? If we went deep into our soul, beyond the subconscious grief, we would discover that deep down inside, we don't need anything. We really don't need anything. Why? Because I didn't ask to be born. If I didn't ask to be born, it's because I don't need to be. So if I don't need to be born, why do I need money? Or as the children say, I need to clean up my room. I didn't even ask to be born. And it's true. We don't ask to be born. Because we don't need to be born. You never hear people complaining that they weren't born. Only people who are born complain. So, the real truth, and this is really the cutting edge, because the next stage in human development is, we are not needy. It's fake news. We have no needs whatsoever. If I don't need to be born, then I don't need anything. So why do I need to get a job? Actually, you don't. And you'd rather not. It's not your idea, not your choice. There's a creator, and for some mysterious divine reasons, he created us with a need to get a job. Animals don't need a job. They run around in the woods until they find something to eat, and then they go home. But human beings need to go through a whole process to get a job, to make money, and to use that money to buy food that somebody else. It's very complicated. Why is it that way? Not because of me. I didn't choose it. I didn't agree to it. I don't know. I don't even know why it's that way. Why do I need to sleep? I don't know. Sometimes I don't want to sleep. Sometimes I have something important to do. And I can't do it because it's time to go to sleep. Who did this to me? Do I need to eat? You know how much money the diet industry makes? Do we need to eat? No, we all need to not eat. But we can't. Why? Who did this to me? Not my choice. If I designed myself, I would not have to eat every 3 hours, and I would not have to sleep half my life away. Can you imagine? Can you imagine not having needs? If we didn't have needs, we could live forever. Not that we would need to. But if we had no needs, we would never suffer, we would never have any grief, we would live forever. I think one of the problems that developed because Adam and Eve ate from the tree of knowledge is that we developed this feeling of neediness. And religion doesn't help at all. On the contrary, much of this conviction of our neediness comes from religion. You know you can't do anything by yourself without God's help. You know nothing you try is going to be successful if God doesn't give you his blessings. You are dependent. All your needs, you have to turn to him. For everything you have, for everything you gain, you must thank him. Otherwise, he'll take it away. So you spend your life on your knees, begging. This is not a nice picture. It's not a nice picture. Imagine if tomorrow morning people wake up and say, you know what? I don't need anything. First of all, they would become nice people. It would be a pleasure to talk to them. It's our neediness that makes us miserable. People say, why can't we all get along and love each other? Shouldn't be difficult. After all, we all have the same needs. Ever hear that argument? We all have the same needs. Why don't we understand each other and get along? Such a ridiculous argument. That's why we don't get along, because we have the same needs. I need this country and you need this country. Well, how is that going to get resolved? I need the dollar and you need the dollar. How is that going to get resolved? If everyone needed something different, we would never argue about anything. The big problem is that we all need the same thing. Actually, the real problem is not that we need the same thing. The real problem is that we need. And it's a problem because it's not true. We're suffering, we're living under this illusion. I need, I have to have, I have to go, I have to do. Even with religion. I stop a guy in the street, I say, like to put on tefillin? He says, I don't need that. I know, nobody needs that. Unless you have some hang-up on leather or something. But nobody needs to put on tefillin. But if you're religious, you're told, you need to do this. And you tell your grandchild, you need to do this, you need to keep kosher. The kid says, no, I don't. He says, no, you do, you need to, you must, you have to. No, I don't. You want to burn in hell? Oh, okay. I see. You've obviously run out of answers. And now you're resorting to threats. Well, it doesn't work. In fact, the kid says, here, watch. Let me show you that I don't need to keep kosher. Look at what I'm eating. See? I don't need to keep kosher. So, do we or don't we? This teenager goes off to Europe on vacation. And he comes into the, where do they stay when they go?
The hostel.
The hostel. And he says, I need to call my mother. Which phone can I use? And the person there says, you need to call your mother? He says, yeah, I need to call my mother. You need to call your mother? So he thinks quickly and he says, actually, my mother needs me to call her. Which phone can I use? See? Now you're being honest. Stop lying. You don't need to call your mother. Isn't that true? I need to put on tefillin. I need to keep kosher. I need to light Shabbos candles. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't take your mother's need and call it your own. I think this is the essence of honoring your parents. The essence of the mitzvah to honor your parents means they need, not you. Don't make it about yourself when it's really about them. And the same is true with everything in life. I need to eat. What, did I invent this? Did I even ask for it? No. It is not my need, it's my handicap. I can't go without food, and I didn't do this to myself. There's a story in the Gemara about one of the great sages was riding down the road on his donkey, and he sees a guy on the side of the road who was very ugly. So he stops and he says, excuse me, you are very ugly. Huh? This is not a lesson in etiquette. The man said, don't complain to me. Complain to my Creator. And then he wasn't as ugly anymore. The ugliness came from his arrogance, from his conviction that he is independent, self-made, gets credit for everything about himself. So the sage thought quickly and said, "Oh, you take credit for everything you've done? Why'd you make yourself so ugly?" He said, "Well, actually, I didn't do that." So for the first time in his life, he admitted to having a creator. So we got to become a little more honest. We don't have needs. We don't. We can laugh at life. We could laugh at death because we don't need it. Does that sound a little dangerous? I don't need to be alive. I don't need to be here. I never asked for it. It's not my idea, not my need. Does that sound a little suicidal? That's why you have to have the second half. I don't need, but surprise, surprise, the Creator does. So we're turning reality upside down. We've always believed, we've assumed, we were convinced God is perfect and needs nothing. We are messed up and we have needs. We are needy, God is not. It's not working. And it's not true. Let's try the opposite. See what happened at the giving of the Torah? God came down to Mount Sinai. Moshe went up. We are not the needy ones. God is coming down. We can go up. Turn it upside down. And it makes so much more sense. I'm needy. I didn't ask to be born. But the creator of the entire universe has no need. How does that make any sense? Would you create a universe that you didn't need? Where would you put it? What does it mean that God created the world and he doesn't need it? That's nonsense. Oh, but he's God. Why would he need anything? Oh, but he's God. What are you telling him? That he can't need anything? You're dictating to him what he can and cannot do? It turns out that the entire Torah, from the 10 Commandments given at Mount Sinai to the studies of Torah going on today in the yeshivas all over the world, what are we studying? God's needs. He has 613 of them. Which means, I am not the needy one, I am the needed one. So, what would you rather be? Needy or needed? We've got it so backwards. No wonder we're miserable. I feel so needy that if you need something from me, I resent it. So being needed becomes a resentment. Leave me alone. Got my own problems. Why should I have children? Why should I raise a family? I take care of myself first, no? I have so many needs. It's not working. It's the opposite. I need is depressing. You need me? It's a party. You're home alone, and it's lunchtime. You going to make lunch? Probably not. Why bother? It's a burden. If there's nothing in the fridge from yesterday, you'll go without lunch, who cares? But if somebody calls up and says, can I come over for lunch? It's so much more enjoyable to be needed than to be needy. And we cheat ourselves out of it. In fact, people who are severely depressed and maybe even suicidal, it's not because they have so many needs. It's because they're convinced that nobody needs them. That's a killer. If you really feel like you are not needed, it's worse than being needy. So, I can afford to admit that I have no needs if I know that I am needed. So not having any needs liberates me from all the distractions, and knowing that I'm needed gives me an exciting reason to get up in the morning. So the combination is absolutely perfect. To the degree that I am needed, I don't have to be needy. To the degree that I am not needy, I am available for those who need me, beginning with God himself. Well, what about the religious conviction that since God is so perfect, he can't possibly need anything? Aren't we told that in yeshiva and school and Talmud Torah? God doesn't need anything, it's all for you. Oh, what's all for me? Everything God does is for you. So he's doing it for me. So who needs it? I didn't ask, but he does it for me. So what's driving him? Very, very simple. Of course, no need demands God's attention. That's true. Nothing imposes itself on God. So, in that sense, he doesn't need anything. But he is a purposeful being. A purposeful being needs a purpose. Nothing imposes itself on him. That's just him. So he is perfect. There's nothing more powerful than him that motivates him. He's not afraid to die. So what motivates him? Purpose. That's internal, not imposed from the outside. So yes, he is needy, but he is essentially needy from internal motivation, not external. Yet, there's nothing that imposes itself on God except himself. One final thought. In the description of creation, God says, "It is not good that man alone exists. I will create him a helpmate." Very famous quote, everybody knows about it. Women have been abused because of it for all these years. Because, women exist only because it helps the man. But what does it really mean? To understand what it really means, you have to ask a very fundamental question. God is creating the world. On the first day, God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. God didn't say, "Oh, it's dark in here. I think we need some light." He didn't say that. He just created light. And then on the second day, he created the heavens. And he went through 6 successful days. And on the 6th day, after creating Adam, God suddenly says, it's not good with man alone. I think I'm going to have to create a woman. Just go ahead and do it. Why did he have to say it? Isn't that a good question? God said it is not good to be alone because he was telling Adam why he created the world. In case you're wondering, I am the creator. I am a perfect being. I am infinite, all-powerful, all-knowing. Why would I create a world? Answer, because it's not good to be alone. He was literally describing himself. So what do? You create a helpmate, a partner in existence. By saying it, he not only described himself, but he also imposed that same instinct onto people. Because we are created in his image, and he does not like being alone, that's why we also don't like being alone. In fact, it's terrible. Terrible. You know, you end up talking to a soccer ball. So God says it is not good to be alone. And human beings share that divine trait. Why is it not good to be alone? Why? We don't know. There is no rational answer. In fact, in many ways, being alone can be perfect. If you're capable, why do you need somebody else? So, it's a bit of a mystery. We hate being alone. We get sick if we're alone. But the rest of the time, we keep begging to be alone. Leave me alone. So you walk out and they get upset. So is it good to be alone or is it not? Okay, this is what it's coming down to. In the very, very immediate past, we've discovered that being alone is terrible. Not because we need help, but because being alone is terrible. It's a godly instinct in us. We hate being alone because we're like God and he hates being alone. That's why making a phone call, saying hello to somebody in the street, can literally save a life. Some guy actually was going to kill himself. And in his mind, he thought, if anybody says hello to me on the way to the Brooklyn Bridge, I won't kill myself. He made it to the bridge. And he was standing there looking very dejected. And somebody walked by and said, "Hey, are you okay?" He said, "Okay." Didn't kill himself. Just that little bit of attention, that little bit of recognition. Why is that so powerful? What is it? It's not like they became best friends. And this guy walking by didn't help him with his problems. He just said, "Are you okay?" And that was good enough. What is that? So we come to a very powerful, almost awesome conclusion. If you say hello to God in the morning, you've made his day. Because if we are needy to the point where saying hello can make all the difference in the world, and we are finite, tiny, if God hates being alone, he hates it infinitely. So it shouldn't be surprising if a person does one mitzvah. God asked that I should put a mezuzah on the door, I'll get a mezuzah. How powerful is that? People are critical of Jews who come to the synagogue once a year on Yom Kippur. Not for the whole day. They're not that religious. But they show up. Ask them. Ask them. You enjoy coming to the synagogue? Are you kidding? I hate it. It's so awkward. I'm so uncomfortable here. I'm out of my element. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm standing, they're sitting, I'm standing. I hate this. So why are you here? So some people say, hypocrite. Shows up on Yom Kippur and thinks he's a big tzaddik. No, he doesn't think he's a big tzaddik. He is embarrassed, and he comes there despite the discomfort. So if you were to ask him, oh, you becoming religious? Are you kidding? I'm getting out of here as soon as I can. So why do you come? Why? And the answer really is, it's not good to be alone. So from one visit, one time, once a year, you show up for a couple of hours, that's good enough? Yeah. Yeah. That can change your life. Somebody says, are you okay? Changes your life. So if you show up and you say to God, I hate being here. This is not my thing. I don't need this. But you do, so I'm here. Can I leave now? And God says, yes, thank you very much. What exactly is it that God needs? To not be alone. Which means that when you're born and you exist, he is no longer alone. Right? So do you have to be a tzaddik? Do you have to be orthodox? Do you have to be frum? You have to keep all the commandments or you're doomed? That's not what God needs. He needs to not be alone. So if you exist with him, he is not alone. So what does he need? Nothing. Who does he need? You. So what are all the mitzvahs for? So why do I have to do this and I have to do that? God doesn't want to be alone. So he creates you and gives you freedom of choice. Because if you don't have freedom of choice, he's still alone. He has angels, he's still alone. Because angels don't have an opinion. They don't have free choice. Only with human beings is God not alone. However, he wants to be with you, not against you. Sometimes your best friend rubs you the wrong way. You clash even with the person you love the most. So the ideal is, yes, I need you in my life, but stop fighting me. Let's get on the same page. So God says, I'm creating you because I need you to be mine. That's what chosen means. Be mine. But if I'm keeping Shabbos, God says, if I rest on the seventh day and you don't rest on the seventh day, we're not getting along. So do I need you to rest on the seventh day? I need you to be with me. On the seventh day, you can be with me by resting, because that's what I'm doing. During the 6 days, I'm creating. Create with me. So all of the mitzvahs are simply God describing himself so that we can stay on the same page with him. He doesn't like pork. So, neither do I. But I'm going to say, I'm against eating pork. I'm not against eating pork. God doesn't eat pork. I'm not going to eat. Why? I'm on the same page with him. Now, why does he not like pork? I don't know, and I don't care. I'm not trying to compete with him. I just want to stay in touch with him. If he won't go for the pig, I don't go for the pig. Which means if he did, so would I. I got nothing against the pigs. Theoretically. So a Jew should not say, I cannot eat pork. I need to keep kosher. No. I need to be by God's side, and when he is keeping kosher, I keep kosher with him. When he is keeping Shabbos, I keep Shabbos with him. So imagine you're sitting at your Shabbos table, and your children won't come to the table. So what's missing? Shabbos or your children? So when we don't keep Shabbos with him, God says, where were you? I missed you. I was sitting by the table by myself. And it's not good to be alone. So all of a sudden, and this is the punchline, all of a sudden, Judaism has become a romance. I just need you. Like a marriage. I just need you. You as you are, be in my life. So why are we constantly disagreeing and arguing? Not because I don't want you in my life. I need you in my life. But stop aggravating me. Stop pulling in the opposite direction. Can't we work together so that we can be together? That's it. That's the whole Megillah. And we've been cheated out of it for all these years. Being told that we need to keep kosher, God doesn't need anything. So what am I keeping kosher for? To not go to hell. Hell with that. That is not a good reason. So let's start celebrating. This is a year of Hakel. I'm sure you're going to hear about it all year. This year it is actually a mitzvah to get together. For no particular reason. Even babies. Why? Because it's not good to be alone. So what should we do when we get together? Whatever you want. Just don't be alone. That can heal the world. It will heal the world. It is healing the world. We realize that we just don't want to be alone. And why? Because we're godly. We are created in God's image. So, I'm sure the rabbi has many plans for events such as this, all through the year. But anytime you have a good excuse to invite some friends to get together, just to be together, there's nothing healthier, there's nothing greater, and there's nothing more godly than just getting together. Is that too hard? But don't bring your needs when you get together. Don't sit there kvetching about how hard life is. Life is not hard. It really isn't. If you think it is, it's because someone convinced you that you have needs that you don't have. So let God worry about all the things he makes me need. Right? If God says you must make money in order to buy food, in order to live, well, then that is his problem. It's your idea. Take care of it. How did it become my problem? So you want me to be healthy? Okay. Take care of it. That's where our trust in God comes from. Why do you think God is going to help you with all your problems? Because they're his problems. When you pray, you're not trying to change God's opinion. It's like, hey, you want me to suffer, but please change your mind. He doesn't want you to suffer. So when you ask him to take away whatever pain there is, of course he'll take it away. You're on the same page. Just show an interest. Show a little concern. Finally, when we say we want Mashiach now, who's we? Who's the we who want Mashiach now? God and us. So if we want, and he wants, we all want Mashiach, so where is he? If there was at least somebody who said, no, he can't come now. But nobody is saying that. We all want Mashiach now. So, why wouldn't he come? How can you believe Mashiach is going to come after all these years? If everybody wants, no one is against it. In fact, he wants it more than we do. Because you remember this point? He's the one who's needy. This is his creation, it's his world, it's his plan, it's his vision. I have to convince him to take care of his creation? No. I just have to be on the same page. God wants Mashiach, we want Mashiach with him. So if we want and he wants, no question it's going to happen. In fact, why didn't it happen yesterday? Should have. Could have. So, must happen today. Doesn't that feel a little better than... like you can get off your knees now and stop begging? Isn't that better? Isn't that an improvement? And tell me if this doesn't make more sense than the other way around. God creates a world he doesn't care for. We have a bunch of burdens and a bunch of problems, and if we don't handle it well, he will punish us for failing. What kind of distorted picture is that? So welcome to the future. Tomorrow morning, it wouldn't be surprising if the entire world wakes up and says, I don't need anything. Give me a mission. Tell me what I'm needed for. I'm available. If you need, then it's a party. We're really nice people. Just a little confused. Thank you so much for listening. If anybody feels like they need to ask a question. See, now nobody's going to ask a question. Okay, if you don't need to ask a question, what's your question? Anybody a question? Comment? Rebuttal?
Are we essentially Hashem's wife?
Yes. Are we essentially God's wife? Yes, we are, and we would prefer that it be monogamous. And so would he. And that's why we have only one God. One. Remember? Hashem Echad, only one. That's called monogamy. And that's also why we refer to God as he. Because we're not confused. If we are the she, He must be the he. How it works. And we prefer to be the she. There were religions that worshiped a female god. They're gone. They killed themselves out because they became too protective of their god. We'd rather let God protect us. Does a better job.
How do we exercise being needed and not needy?
It's a very simple thing. Like God calls Avraham, right? What does Avraham say? What does that mean? What is that, a GPS? I'm here? God knows where you are. Hineni means, I'm available. I got no needs. You need something? Ask me, send me, give me. Because I don't need anything, so I'm totally available. It's as simple as that. But it took us 5,000 years to figure it out. So, how do you not be needy or welcome being needed? I'm available. It's a psychological relief and a theological victory. As you get to know God's needs, you can let go of your needs. As you let go of your needs, God's needs become more interesting, stimulating, compelling. Let me go back to the guy who shows up in synagogue once a year. If you ask him, why are you here? What really will his answer be?
He's Jewish.
Meaning, if you're Jewish, why aren't you here every day? Well, I'm not that Jewish. Yeah, you're that Jewish. I think the answer would be, if he knew his own thinking, most people don't. But if we got down to the real truth, say, why are you here? His answer would be, I have no choice. I can't not show up. But why can't you not show up? What is that? That is the healthiest relationship in the world. This guy's running down the street, and you stop him and you say, what's the matter? He says, my wife is not feeling well. I'm running to get the doctor. And you say, wow, you really love your wife. He says, love my wife? I don't know. So why are you running? Slow down. You'll get the doctor later. What's the rush? What would the guy say?
She needs
She
needs
He needs his wife.
Why am I running?
He needs his wife.
See, that would be very conditional. If I need her a lot, I'll run fast. If I need her a little, I'll take my... No. He has no... It's not what he wants to do, it's what he can't not do. You walk past a baby abandoned on a park bench. The baby is crying. It's not your baby and you don't like babies. You just keep walking? No. You stop, you try, you do something. Why? What? You really do love babies. No, I really don't. And besides, I'm in a hurry. I got places to go. I don't have time for this. So why'd you stop?
The baby needs me. The baby needs me.
The baby needs, I can't not. I don't have a good reason to do it, but I can't not do it. Because if I keep walking, I won't be able to sleep for a month. My conscience will bother me. Why? It's not your baby. It's not your job. It's not your responsibility. You're not a... What? Whatever that is. Right? This idea, I can't not. That's what makes a Jew show up on Yom Kippur. Yes, I'm Jewish. But because I'm Jewish, I can't not show up a whole year. And that is so beautiful. So if you say, oh, so you're religious now on Yom Kippur? No, I'm not religious. So do you have a spiritual experience when you go to the synagogue? No. I have heart palpitations. So why do you do it? I can't not. Running for a doctor when your wife needs a doctor? How can you not? That is deeper and more real than, well, I got to be a good husband. No. That's what makes Judaism so real and not really a religion. Religion means you're trying to get something. You're trying to make it. You're trying to... In Judaism, we're not trying anything. Because we don't need this. So why do you put a mezuzah on your door? What, am I not going to have a mezuzah? I'm not going to make a seder on Pesach? What is it? So that compelling, it's like, what is fear of God? Fear of God means, what, am I not going to show up? That's what it means. Not I'm afraid of punishment. How can you not? The reason you stop and take care of the baby on the park bench is because you're afraid not to. The baby is so significant that you're afraid to abandon the baby. You're afraid of the baby. You don't love the baby. Like, how can you insult your friend in public? Don't you love him? Oh, I love him a lot. I enjoy insulting him. You don't insult your friend in public because how could you? That's called fear. Respect. How could you? Knowing that God wants us to do certain things. Do I have to be a tzaddik to do it? Do I even have to be religious to do it? If you know God wants something, how could you not? And that's why being told that God doesn't really need anything ruins the whole plan. If he doesn't need it, I can keep walking. So we're not being religious. Let's get that clear. If anybody asks you, what were you doing last night? If anybody asks you tomorrow, what were you doing last night? Don't say you did something religious, because this is not religious. This is Jewish. And Jews are not religious.
Why is it that Hashem didn't articulate his needs more clearly, preferably in English?
Why isn't God a little more articulate about his needs? You know he grew up without a mother. Give him a break, no? Actually, God is very articulate. But people trying to be smart, twist his words. And God says, don't work on Shabbos. And we say, oh, take a day off? And God says, no. Just don't do labor on Shabbos. Oh, spend time with my family? Will you stop it? Is he not being articulate? But we interpret his words to make them sound more familiar. That's why the Ten Commandments are so simple. Don't. How can you not understand that?
Can you clear up the doing the right thing, the good thing with guilt? Because I find so often that I think to myself, I'll feel so bad if I don't, like, I ran out early because I told my father, I teach my father every night, and I said, oh my gosh, I'm going to get out of here too late. Of course I love him, I adore him, and would do anything for him, but it would have felt horrible sitting through this knowing that I didn't speak to him. So I opted to go before him. But that guilty piece in there seems to rub me constantly.
Okay, so you call him because you love him.
Right.
But you would feel terrible if you didn't call him because he needs you to call.
Right.
So the first is about you, the second is about him. So did you call him because you need to or because he needs to?
Because he needs it. Which that in turn makes me feel good that he needs me.
So guilt, in its pure meaning, guilt doesn't mean I failed. Guilt means somebody got cheated.
Somebody what?
Got cheated. If you walk past the baby on the bench, you feel guilty. Why? Because you didn't do what you wanted? No, because you didn't do what the child wanted. That's good guilt. To feel guilty because I'm a failure, that's just self-pity. That's not even guilt. But here again, we were misled. We were made to feel guilty about things that we never should, that we're not supposed to feel guilty about. We became just guilt-ridden. Like the Jew who said, I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't feel guilty. Must be my fault. Yeah.
So I even hate to ask this question, it's a little bit embarrassing, but is there any proof of the hypothesis or of this, idea needs, our needs versus God's needs? What proof is there? It sounds, I'm in, I buy it. But at the end of the day, how do we know? How do we know for real which way it is?
Well, first of all, as we were saying at the beginning, the rational thing to do is that which makes sense in your life. So if it makes sense and you're in, good enough. This is not a laboratory where you have to prove your hypotheses. This is life. But there is proof. First of all, we can prove that for a human being, it is more essential to feel needed than to feel loved. Which is why we who worship love, who celebrate love, who talk about love all the time, are not happy. Because love does not substitute being needed. Parents should convince their children that they're needed, not that they're loved. Because children need to know that they're necessary more than they need to be loved. You can live without love. Can't live without being needed. That's just a human reality. And concerning God, if he initiates the creation, if he initiates the relationship with Avram, which he did, right? Avram was living out there in a suburb in Mesopotamia or somewhere. And God comes to him and says, come with me. He's reaching out. He's initiating. He's creating. He's choosing. And he needs nothing. It makes no sense. How can he need? Okay, good question. Is he still perfect if he needs me? I was telling a group of Reformed Jews that God needs your mitzvahs. And somebody said, oh, I thought God was perfect. I said, he was. Then he got involved with us and he hasn't been the same. We've made him crazy. Now, God is the ultimate. Let me make it really dramatic. A human being gets angry. He's acting like God. What are you angry about? This is not your world. Oh, no, I'm angry. No, you're not God. So for a human being to be angry is pretending to be God. Because only God has a right to be angry. Same is true with needy. If I say I need, who are you, God? Only God gets to need. It's his world. Not my world, so what do I need? So literally, if you say I need, you're acting as if you're God. You're not God. Calm down. Let God do the needing.
I agree with you that people need to be needed more than they need to be loved. How do you explain that to a child or a teenager? Like, what would make them, because they might feel like I'm needed to do something. Like, what do you need me for? How would you explain that?
That is very important. You heard the question? How do you tell children that they're needed without giving them the impression that you are needed for something? To run an errand? To get a good grade on their report card?
You're needed for their company, not for the things they're going to bring to the work.
I don't think that is a pressure for a teenager. I don't want to have to give you company. I want to give my friend company. Now you need me to give you company. Now they're working.
I need you to be mine. Even wherever you roam, wherever you go, you're mine, I'm yours. So what's unconditional is, I am your mother. Unconditional, always. I am your mother, always, even when I hate you. And right now, I hate you. So if you want to get your kids' attention, say, yeah, I don't love you. That'll get their attention. And I'll say, yeah, so, but I need you, not for errands. And the same is true with marriage. You don't marry for practical benefits. You marry a person so that you're not alone. The rest is commentary.
So where does prayer come in?
Prayer.
Right. So organized prayer 3 times a day. So in terms of, so we're praying, clearly God doesn't need our prayer, right? So we're not praying to make God feel better. So when I pray, I try to connect. So can you just go over how does that work? What are we doing it for? How do I impart to people the beauty of that, and what are we striving for when we're doing it?
So what do you mean when you say trying to connect?
Well, I'm striving for a relationship.
And who needs that relationship?
I feel like I do. Well, I mean, it's a relationship, so it's...
Exactly. If he doesn't need to hear from you, stop bothering him. For a good thing.
Actually, Rabbi Dov went to a class on this exact topic.
He needs to hear from you as much as you need to be connected to him. Otherwise, it's not a relationship.
With that many words, can we pray in like one sentence?
Yes, you can. Oi. Says it all. Oi, I miss you. That's it.
Once a year.
But if you want to check in, like saying good morning, that's a good idea. Good night, good idea. Why? What are you asking for? Not asking for anything. Checking in. And if you do have needs, you're honest about it. You're not going to hide it, you're not going to fake it. So if you're in a bad mood and you come to Daven, let God know you're in a bad mood. If you're upset, let him know you're upset. Be honest. Be open. Because it's not to get something, it's to keep a relationship fresh. Sometimes you cry when you pray. Sometimes you sing. You're just being honest.
Rabbi Friedman, I have a question. Do you have any more time?
Yes?
I'm going to take two more questions. So, you alluded to the fact that we have this unique opportunity to connect with God through prayer, communication, connection. And in fact, during our prayer, we ask for many things, including help. And I'm assuming that as I'm asking for help, God hears me and He gives me the unique opportunity to be healthy and be well. So then why do we need doctors and medication?
If we ask God to heal us, why do we need medicine?
We shouldn't.
Why do we need doctors?
We shouldn't.
Not only that, why do we get sick? We shouldn't. So all of this is consistent with what we're saying. Why do I need to eat? That's the way He created it. Why do people get sick? That's the way He created it. What should I do when I get sick? Go to a doctor. Why? That's the way He created it. It's all His plan, not mine. So you come to God and you say, okay, I'm with the plan. I'm not feeling well. I guess there's a reason for it, but can it end now? Enough of this?
So we are on the second Parsha, Noah, and God said to Noah, build an ark, I will destroy the whole world. If God needed people to behave, not only people, but animals also to behave, why He didn't communicate clearly and say, listen guys, like he was sending throughout the Torah, in many places He was sending prophets to communicate His message. Through the prophets, through the record, He only said to Noah, just build the ark, I will destroy it. Why there is no clear communication to the world that guys, you need to behave, otherwise I will destroy you.
Why was there very little warning to the generations, 10 generations from Adam until Noach? God didn't send any warnings, didn't give any pep talks, didn't have any rallies, and then all of a sudden, okay, you're bad, gone. It's a very good question. In a sense, that entire period of time was the earth's infancy. Infancy. The world was a baby. The human race was a baby. What do babies do? They experiment. They knock things over. They destroy everything they see. It's an experiment. Another thing babies do is they get away with it. You don't tell a baby, don't spill the milk. Because who are you talking to? It's a baby. So, in a sense, those 10 generations was like childhood, infancy, where you had to experiment, you had to try, And in trying, they did some terrible things. But that had to end, and you had to grow up. So, kind of in a mystical sense, the world was growing up. So you can't force it and stop it. You can't preach about it. You're talking to babies who haven't had an experience of life. And you can't let it go on forever. So the flood was like the world reached a bar mitzvah age. So until now, you can get away with everything. But now, grow up. Enough. So it's a little bit of a defense of those people. Did it have to be that way? Yes, it had to be that way. You had to go through your infancy before you become an adult.
But I think it also Hashem expected and needed in order to do something that he didn't do it.
He tried a little bit and didn't influence a single person.
Hashem didn't communicate to Noah that besides building the ark, he needs to really communicate the message. You said just build the ark.
For 120 years, so that people will find out that there is a flood coming, and it didn't help anybody.
Okay.
Thank you again. If you enjoyed this conversation or this topic, and you're looking for more information, or you want to hear it again from another angle, there is a way to do that. And that is in this book. It's all there. Order it from Amazon. You can read it, reread it, and share it. We have a Sunday night program for VIPs that you might be interested in. It's informal. It's questions and answers. It's conversation. It's really relaxed. It's really pleasant, enjoyable, informative, and kind of community-like. It's a Sunday night program. There's a Wednesday morning program for the VIPs, and there's a Wednesday night program. All of it just conversation, casual, laid back, unscripted. So join us. Take a look. Click the link below and see which of the three suits you best, and join us for some enjoyable conversation.